Good morning
Welcome back.
or afternoon, whatever it is where you're at. Thanks for joining us. So last time we were talking about some advice that's been good advice and some advice that's been not so good advice. One of the not so good advices that you mentioned, I kind of want to loop back to, but also talk about some of the other maybe hot topics or like controversial things this time. If you've been married for any length of time, you've probably heard a couple of these. And we're going to kind of sound off a little bit on like our humble opinions. So, starting with that one that you mentioned last week, happy wife,
Happy life. Yeah.
Why do you disagree with that? Why don't you want to make me happy?
I mean, yes, ideal. Everybody should be happy, but at the expense to yourself or your true the value of yourself. I don't know. I feel like if I'm doing everything to make you happy and not taking in consideration myself, I don't know. You run the risk of burning the candle at both ends, almost like to a point where me or the husband or whoever's saying that is running the risk of just like putting everything down. You're just like burying it deeper and deeper, like your true feelings, or just taking one for the team over and over again. And eventually I think you're gonna wear yourself out, or you'll just be a powder keg ready to explode. I don't know. I feel like both sides need to value each other to a point where decisions and things need to be made as a team.
Okay. So I agree. I think that there's a connotation to that saying that like it is just one-sided and it is just like whatever she wants, she gets. And I think that that creates not a good dynamic for any person. Like I know this is going to be really hard to believe. But I have bad ideas sometimes. Or I make bad calls sometimes, right? Like I am human. And I think that when you marry somebody, you have to be like with somebody that you trust to like realize your humanity and also like have input, and it's not the opposite either, right? Like it can't be it all is one-sided like you're saying.
Yeah. I think coming to things in an attitude of servitude is great. Serving your wife, serving your kids, serving your community, serving everything. I think those are all great things.
Yeah, and like you shouldn't also like it's all about me, like like
Yeah.
it is. It's a balance, and that actually brings me to the second thing that you tend to hear sometimes, especially in we're both Christians and we've been going to church for a long time. Wives, submit to your husbands.
Yeah, the good book says that.
It really does. There's a verse that says that you should submit to your husband.
So what's your take on that?
Well, I feel like as a woman, as a wife, people are going to expect me to have a hot take on it. Right? Because that's what about as a husband? Like, how do you feel about that verse?
Yeah. The Bible has a lot of knowledge in it. It has a lot of things. I think as somebody who reads the Bible, you also need to look at it as the context of who it was written to, who wrote it, and then how does that connect to us or the message of the book. So specifically,
I'm pulling it. So
you're
I'm
pulling
pulling
it up,
up
yeah.
the verse right
So
now.
I couldn't tell you what verse it is, or
So I'm pulling it up.
it's Ephesians.
It's in Ephesians, and it says, "Wives, submit to your husbands, to your own husband as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything."
Yeah. And then there's a part 2.
There is, and that's you're talking about context. So here you go. I'm gonna let you read part 2.
Right. Verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without sin or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. Keep going.
No, I mean,
No,
I think
I think
that you
that's
kind of get the point. This should be mutual. So here's my hot take. I think that submission is not happy husband, happy life either. I don't think that when we are called to submit, that just means that we are not valued
Or
that
walked over.
Yeah, like I think that it is what is being described here is actually a partnership. I think that ultimately what it means to submit to your husband is to trust your husband. And I think husbands, in that second part, like, how are you earning that trust? Well, you're living for your wife. So she lives, it's that mutual peace. So I think one of the biggest things too is that if you're with somebody and if you cringe at the thought of trusting your husband
in any aspect, money, safety,
all of it, like safety, money,
the future,
your
children,
our family, if the thought of that and being like, hey, I trust you wholly with where this is going, if that makes you like, I think that you maybe before you get married maybe need to look into that, because that is what, like, I do think it is actually very important to go into the marriage completely trusting each other and living for each other. And it's not going to be perfect all the time, but if you're living for me and I'm living for you and trusting you, then it's going to go a lot better than if it's me versus you.
Exactly, yeah.
Or my idea versus your idea. Your finances versus my finances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know, different seasons have different, we do better, I know, at certain points than others, but we always come back. We always find our way back to that.
We've mentioned, I think before, both of us are insanely stubborn. And there are times in life that I don't want it to be your idea. I want it to be my idea because I'm really passionate about something. And I'm like, I just want you to see it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you've had the same, right? Like, where it's like, nothing will make you argue more than like remodeling the bathroom and how to do it, or like little things even like that.
Yeah. Where we both will
Here's
get it.
how I
We
would-
would both get it done.
Yeah.
But the way we plan, organize, and follow through sometimes are
Way different. We go about things very, very differently. When we first moved to Germany, we had our 2 boys and we got this apartment. I guess it was not first moved, but like
second year.
Second year there. We got this apartment that was not furnished, and so we had to get like all new furniture, and we ended up ordering, as you do, almost everything from IKEA.
IKEA's will test your marriage.
Oh my word, will IKEA test your marriage? Because I wanted to put it together. So I'm not a directions person. We got the pieces. It looks like it's right. Let's put it together. Tyler was built for Lego kits.
And that's what IKEA is. It's basically wordless pictures.
It's a Lego kit.
Step by step.
On how to make a bed.
And then you cross your fingers that it actually went through production correctly and the holes line up.
And that doesn't always happen.
And all the parts are there. So that's the wild card, but yeah.
I think that like when we first got the bunk beds put together, we spent the rest of the day just like not in the same room.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because I have my way of doing things and you have your way of doing things. But I think ultimately with like the big stuff, it really needs to be about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came time to move back to the US, or even to move to Germany in the first place. So we moved to Germany when the boys were little, back in 2015.
Yep, 2015.
Tyler was offered this job, and it meant, so it was really scary for me actually, because it meant that I was going to have to quit. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was owning my little business doing hair, and that was doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also kind of stepping my feet into ministry and loving that. I was working for Grace Place and I loved it. Doing like women's and youth and all of that, children's ministry. And I had to quit both of those. And I remember that was actually the first time I think that I truly I truly knew what like trust meant, because I was going to let go of these sources of security.
Yeah, and I think we both...
And move away from our families.
Move away from families, friends.
I mean, we've mentioned how important his mom watching the boys and then having to move away from that.
Yeah, free childcare.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we had never, at that point, visited Germany. Like, it was a place we've never been to.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't on our bucket list to even visit at that point.
No, I remember when we first talked about, like, it would be really cool to, like, go abroad. We always talked about, like, Spain and Paris and Italy and, all of those places. And then
the ones that come up, like, as a more romanticized version.
Very romanticized, yeah.
Germany.
That's a great way to put it.
Never really comes up on people's lists.
Especially like Berlin. Like when you picture Germany, you picture southern Germany usually. Like I know that's what I had in my mind.
Yeah, it was a big kick.
So yeah, like we had to make this giant decision for our family. We had 2 young children.
And it was just weird to like quit my job as well.
Yeah. And
then the way they did it was there's like, no, you don't sign a contract. You like shake hands in person. And that's like in the future. So it's like, well, I'm going to quit. We sell everything, our house, our cars, on this word that we, words that bonded us is like, yep, we'll take the job. And then going there and then just like, yeah, I had to learn to let go and give it to God, basically. Like,
and I had to learn to let go and kind of give it to you too. Like
that we were going to be okay. Family first.
The conversations we had going into it were very like, with those big things, it's so important to come together and to acknowledge each other and to trust each other. Like if I didn't have trust for you, there's no way I could have made that move. Because I remember having a conversation too. I was like, I'm going to be real with you, babe. I'm really, really scared that once it's just your income, I'm going to have to ask you to spend money. And like for me, money has always been like I got my first job really young, and I had been working ever since, and I just like buy my own stuff. Like I don't want to rely on anybody. And so for me, that was like a huge step. And I remember having that conversation with you where it was like one of my biggest fears is that like if I want a cup of coffee, I'm gonna have to ask you to borrow $5. And I loved how you handled that because you weren't like, well, yeah, I'm the one making the money and I'm the one paying the bills, and you didn't ever lord that over me that I was not earning an income at that time. In fact, his response was very much like, everything we do is ours.
Yeah, it is.
And even though I wasn't earning money, I was still contributing to the house. And there's going to be seasons where I make more or you make more or whatever. And I think that if you go into it again, like you have to trust each other. And you have to see each other as equals. You become one, not your side, my side.
His, hers, yeah.
It's just ours.
Yeah.
And
I think you can get through a season of that of that saying, happy life.
yeah.
I think that can carry you a little bit. But again, I think in the big picture,
and there's
you're
I think
going
in certain
to
situations too, like if we're talking about where to go on vacation and I don't have a massive preference, then just like
it's
well,
time
right?
together.
Like
It's time together. Oh well.
Yeah, like with those smaller things. You wanted to paint the wall a certain color. I wanted to paint the wall navy blue, and so we have a navy blue wall. He wanted green.
Yeah. In the big picture, it doesn't really matter.
And in the big picture, it doesn't matter, right? Like so there's certain situations where it's like, you know what? If that's gonna make you happy, let's just go. It's not my preference, but whatever. But I think with the big things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if it's consistent, like that's also not healthy. Like if you're always deferring and being like, well, my opinion doesn't matter. Or if you're doing that to your partner, you need to stop. Like you need to value them too. So it's not happy wife, happy life.
No.
And it's not just wives submit to your husbands. It's bigger than that.
It's teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah. Woo! Anyway, if you've been with us this far, what do you think? Where are you guys at on that? Like, are there times that you've had to really trust each other? Sound off. Let me hear it. Do you disagree with us? That's okay too.
Yeah.
Because we're human. And in the meantime, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
A good week.
Yeah, have a great week. And we will talk to you again
next week.
What do you guys want to hear about? Anything?
Yeah.
We'll give you the dirt. Let us know.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.